morning, dear children. This video is for class 10th science chapter number 8, how do organisms reproduce, and this video is regarding the NCERT exercise solutions of this chapter. So children, here we are with the exercise of this chapter, and the first question is an MCQ and it says asexual reproduction takes place through budding in. The options are amoeba, yeast, plasmodium and leishmania. So children, we all are aware that plasmodium goes under multiple fission, amoeba goes under binary fission and leishmania also goes under binary fission. So only yeast is the one which can go under reproduction through the budding process. So option B is the correct answer. Now, question number 2 is, which of the following is not a part of the female reproductive system in human beings? Ovary, yes, it is the part of the female reproductive system. Uterus, it is also the part of female reproductive system. Vas deferens, it is not the part of the female reproductive system, it is the part of male reproductive system. And the next option is fallopian tube, which is another part of the female reproductive system. So here, among all these options A, B, C, D, option C or the vas deferens is not the part of the female reproductive system. So option C would be the answer of question number 2. Question 3 is, the anther contains sepals, ovules, pistil, pollen grains. So children, we know that anther is the part of the male reproductive system of a flower and it carries the male sex gametes in it, which are called as pollen grains. So here option D is the correct answer. Question number 4 is, what are the advantages of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? So children, as we know that sexual reproduction results in new combination of genes, so the advantage of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction is that it creates genetic variations which promotes the diversity of the characters, whereas it is not possible in the asexual reproduction. The second advantage is that because of the sexual reproduction, the origin of new species takes place, which is not possible in case of asexual reproduction. There is one more advantage, that the sexual reproduction, as it is having variations in the genes, because of that, here the continuous evolutions takes place in various of the species for the betterment of the organism. So it leads to a better survival of the species in the changed environments. 5 is, what are the functions performed by testes in human beings? So we know testis is the part of the male reproductive system and the functions of the testes are to produce the male sex gametes or sperms. So to produce sperms is the first function of the testis. Another function is to produce male sex hormone, which is having its name as testosterone, male sex hormone. So these are two main functions of the testis. Question number 6 is, why does menstruation occurs? So children, we know pairs itself every month to receive the fertilized eggs. The inner lining of the uterus becomes thick and spongy to nourish the embryo. But when the egg is not fertilized, then the uterus line charged in the form of blood and mucus pass through vagina. This process is called as menstruation, and the reason is, if the egg is not fertilized, then the inner lining of the uterus breaks. Question number 7 is, draw a labeled diagram of the longitudinal section of a flower. So children, for this you can refer to the NCERT page number 134 and figure number 8.7 that shows you the longitudinal section of a flower. And remember, when you are drawing the diagram of the longitudinal section of a flower, do not forget to mention the names of each part. Question number 8 is, what are the different methods of contraception? So children, as we know that contraception is the practice to avoid the unwanted pregnancy and to keep the gap in between the babies. So here there are various methods used for the contraception, and these methods and devices which are used for this purpose are called as contraceptive methods and devices. So children, here we have mechanical barrier methods, chemical methods, IUCDs or intrauterine contraceptive devices, and surgical methods which are adopted generally for the contraception purpose. So in mechanical method, some physical devices are used so that the unwanted pregnancies can be avoided. Here we can have the example of condoms, diaphragm or cervical cap. Chemical method. In this method, specific drugs are used by females which are of two types. They can be oral pills or tablets, or they can be vaginal pills. Oral pills, they are taken up through the oral cavity, and they also cause the hormonal imbalance in the body. Because of that, eggs are not released and fertilization does not happen. Vaginal pills, they are kept in the vagina of the female, and they also help in not fertilizing the egg. Then third method is IUCDs, intrauterine contraceptive devices. These devices are very effective in preventing the pregnancy. It prevents the implantation in the uterus. It is placed safely inside the uterus by a doctor or a nurse. Then we have surgical methods. Here, in the surgical methods, a small portion of vas deferens in male and fallopian tube in female is cut and tied. Because of that, in males, what happens? The transfer of sperms stops, and in females, the implantation of the egg does not happen into the embryo, into the uterus. So hence, all these methods are effective in avoiding the unwanted pregnancies. Then the next question is, how are the modes of reproduction different in unicellular and multicellular organisms? So children, as we know that unicellular organisms, they are having just one cell. So there is no separate tissue for the reproduction. Hence, the process, simple processes like fission or budding, through them on itself, the organisms can reproduce. For example, the fission happens in the amoeba and leishmania. So in amoeba, the binary fission takes place, but there are some other organisms like plasmodium which undergoes the multiple fission, whereas the yeast undergoes budding. So unicellular organisms, they choose simple reproductive methods like fission and budding. Then multicellular organisms, they contain various cells and a separate system for reproduction. Hence, they can reproduce by both the methods, asexual as well as sexual reproduction methods. The multicellular organisms can obtain the both of the methods. Question number 10 is, how does reproduction help in providing stability to the populations of the species? So children, Reproduction helps in creating the variations in the characters of the next generation, and these variations, they allow the individual of a population to survive in the diverse habitats under the unfavorable conditions. So, if the organism is able to survive under the unfavorable conditions and reproduces, so this way it is transmitting these characters or these variations to the next generation. Hence, the stability of the population of that species is provided with this method. Question number 11 is, what could be the reasons for adopting contraceptive methods? So children, the first and most important reason for using contraceptive method is to avoid unwanted pregnancies, to have the gap between the babies, that the parents would have. The another reason is that using the contraceptive methods protects the person from sexually transmitted diseases. So, overall, the contraceptive methods are a safety device and they are also helping in controlling. So, they are helping to control the population rate. So, this was all about the NCERT exercise of this chapter. I hope you have understood. And the answers of these questions, as this is the video solutions, the written answers of these questions will be available on the EdQuark website in the miscellaneous part. So children, I'll be seeing you in the next video that will be related to the assignment solutions of this chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye.